Admonition the ninth, a fully realised multi-generational intent, is a powerful tool. We now know, through research, through information passed to us and work done by our architect, that our reaction, our visceral sense of wonder at what we were presented with, was designed. Quite apart from the amazement at what we had uncovered, we, Sadie and I, were manipulated into our intense delight quite knowingly by Messrs. Fletcher, Telford, Kerr and Fletcher. Theirs was a multi-generational, multi-discipline, multi-decade effort to create a view that has since been described by eminent local historian Michael Davies as one of Argyll's hidden gems. Hidden it certainly was, and relatively unknown in the contemporary period. A gem it continues to be, set against Mael Odha and embosomed by stands of exotic and native trees, topiary and rhododendron. Perhaps the whole idea was Ian Fletcher's. Certainly it is his initials which adorn the bridge, and it is from the bridge that the breathtaking view is formed. I am not so sure Ian should take sole credit. It is obvious that the bridge was an essential precursor to the elaboration of the house into a castle, given that the original bridge, to the south of the present one, was named the Swing Bridge, for the swinging and the juddering and the creaking and the sense of impending doom that usually using it apparently occasioned. A more robust approach was certainly needed to cross Argyll's Grand Canyon, as Alta Carl Glen is apparently known, and supply the eventual builders of the castle with large quantities of locally quarried schist and remotely cut sandstone they'd require. Therefore, to cross the ravine, this first visionary Fletcher commissioned a gentleman whose name even then was among the greats. Thomas Telford was working in the glen as part of his contract to build over 1,000 miles along and up the west coast of Scotland, connecting communities which had previously only been reachable by water or by foot. And while he was creating this transformative thoroughfare, which passed close to Dunans, it seems he became fast friends with the owner of this, the most northerly house in the glen. Perhaps they caroused in the local taverns, perhaps they just drank slow gin by the fire, perhaps alcohol played no part, but whatever their relationship to drink was, despite his overriding commission to connect the sundry lock-bound and isolated towns of Argyll, sometime in 1814 or so, Ian persuaded Telford to create what is now the tallest rubble-built bridge in the county. While 45 feet or 16 metres from stone parapet to the rounded gravel of the river is not a prodigious height by modern standards, it is one that the user is entirely unaware as she stands on the bridge, not least because of the distracting vision which becomes apparent as one begins to cross Telford's extraordinary structure. Nor is extraordinary an exaggeration. In general, and specifically for the road-making project Telford was working on at the same time, he used a single rounded arch for his rubble-built bridges. Cost would have been a consideration, of course, but frankly, these were workaday bridges for all, set in the midst of glen, crossing river and burn, defile or drain, ensuring easy, permanent passage. Something which prior to that had not been available and which therefore made life, work, travel and above all business more easily accomplished. These were structures manifestly not for ostentation. The bridge at Dunans, however, while functioning as a heavy-duty crossing point for access to and construction of the castle, was mostly about ostentation and prestige. This was a private commission, with all the validation of a successful landowner like Ian Fletcher that therefore accrued. Moreover, the resultant design is highly unusual for a Telford. The bridge has 3 Gothic arches, each supported by octagonal stanchions which include ghost arrow loops in their outward faces. This purposefully mirrored the proposed design of the elaborated house, with its single bridgewood-facing corner turret, including its own pantomime gun loops. Then each octagon is surmounted by a dome, with 6-inch slots let into the deckside faces, possibly for a wooden framework or gates. Even the castle-facing drainage is elaborated. Runoff is funneled through 3 gargoyles clearly representing the Orient-inspired trio of monkeys, see no evil, hear no evil, and speak no evil. What the significance of these three is a matter for conjecture, but given the Fletcher motto, recta pete, or aim for right things, one can only assume that these elaborate rainwater goods are meant as admonishments in the Buddhist form to do no evil. This is an approach worthy of a castle, and elaborate to the point that some have doubted Telford as originator, for he, as you might know, was an engineer of the function-fitting form, with little patience for elaboration. Bearing in mind we did purchase the castle, that we did receive the deeds and pertinent legal documents, and that we were to take possession some 10 or 11 months after first crossing the bridge, and also bearing in mind that the bridge had been completed in 1815, dedicated to the victory at Waterloo, wherein so many soldiers of the Argyll and Sutherland regiment had died, and further that the structure had remained in the ownership of one family since its construction until 7 years before we took up residence, you would think, nay assume, that the papers pertinent to the commission of Telford to build this nationally important, storied edifice would be easily found and referenced within the packet of deeds and legal papers accruing to us from our purchase. But no. Not even after a second or third deep dive through the papers by myself and Sadie, and then in desperation by George, our Glasgow-based conveyancing solicitor. Furthermore, I know for a fact from the departing clan chief, the very charming and yet somewhat and understandably reticent eldest Fletcher, that these papers were left with the house and its subsequent owners as part of the site's history. That they did not find their way to us, while to be regretted deeply, and ensuring that for a while even historic Scotland doubted its own listing of the bridge, it matters not a whit. For we have proven via archaeological rather than documentary methods that the structure is indeed at Telford. The sadness is that we cannot properly assess the designer's intent, nor that of the commissioner, in order to fill out and confirm or debunk the assumptions and narrative cogencies I here present as well-kent truth.